Newsom. It recently resurfaced that he had dated a 19-year-old when he was 39, had an affair with the wife of a campaign manager, and was addicted to alcohol. Or as Hunter calls it, amateur.
There is no bigger fan of Gavin Newsom than Bill Maher. He loves the guy. Bill, snap out of it. And he had Gavin Newsom on his show on Friday night. Couple of sound bites making the rounds, including this one on the trans issue, SOT 19.
About this 80-20 issue, and I think you are on the other side of this now, the side with the 80. 80 being 80% of the people in this country. Again, this is the issue of should biologically born men be able to compete in women's sports.
That's tough.
And, you know, I saw the polling here in California.
It recently resurfaced that Gavin Newsom, at 39, dated a 19-year-old, had an affair with his campaign manager's wife, and struggled with alcohol addiction, or as Hunter Biden might call it Monday.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is.
What do you get when you mix Gavin Newsom's hair gel budget with the IQ of a busted Roomba? A political disaster so polished it blinds you before it puts you to sleep. But don't worry, Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly just lit a flamethrower under the California clown car, and the meltdown is nothing short of spectacular. If you've ever wondered what happens when smug arrogance collides with a verbal beatdown, buckle up. This roast turns wildfires into scented candles. Let's dive headfirst into the Democratic dumpster inferno.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote-unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand. At the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes, 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 yes.
Poof, Gavin Newsom, the political equivalent of ordering a kale smoothie and realizing it tastes like betrayal and damp grass. California's silver-tongued salesman of empty slogans, whose idea of leadership lies somewhere between an Instagram filter and a rejected Broadway audition for Dictators, the musical. If hypocrisy ever scored a hair gel endorsement, Gavin wouldn't just be the face. He'd be the glistening, overstyled forehead of the brand.
Gavin Newsom claims he only noticed Biden's cognitive decline once during the 4 years Biden was in office. And that one time was when Biden endorsed Gavin Newsom. According to a new poll, the city with the most STDs in the nation is Detroit.
When it comes to Gavin Newsom, the comedy practically writes itself. He's less a politician and more a walking piñata stuffed with broken promises, progressive buzzwords, and enough NPR podcast episodes to make your ears bleed. Every time someone takes a swing, whether it's critics, comedians, or even his own past statements, another absurd policy, virtue signaling soundbite, or headline-worthy contradiction tumbles out. He's the gift that keeps on giving, not because he's trying to, but because his political brand is built on style over substance, slogans over solutions, and drama over delivery.
Question, is it fair? And I can give you example after example. Just in my home state, there was someone that won a triple jump by 8 feet. Right. It was fundamentally unfair. We haven't been able to figure that out.
You see, the right has weaponized. One might even say they pounced, Emily, on this issue.
I mean, yeah, of course. It was the right who was just so excited to talk about bathrooms and locker rooms.
Let's start with Gavin Newsom's signature move, performing moral superiority like it's a TED Talk audition, all while presiding over a state that looks like the aftermath of a raccoon rave in a Whole Foods parking lot. California under Newsom isn't just disorganized. It's a carefully curated disaster, a high-tech dystopia where billion-dollar failures are branded as bold innovation. And the only thing greener than the energy grid is the envy of taxpayers, watching their money fuel smug press conferences and solar panels that only seem to work on Tuesdays, if the weather feels like cooperating. It's like watching a lifestyle brand cosplay as leadership, expensive, shiny, and ultimately useless.
Gavin's Hands. It's time for Gavin's Hands.
Welcome to a new segment called Gavin's Hands. He keeps his hands in motion and his hair full of lotion. True, Gavin's views may be idiotic, but his hands moves, well, they're hypnotic. California Governor Newsom's new podcast is out. It's available wherever fine hair care products are sold. And we couldn't help but notice an unintended delight.
Greg Gutfeld couldn't help himself. He pointed out that Gavin Newsom governs like a guy who skimmed how to ruin an economy for dummies and mistook it for a checklist. And then there was Megyn Kelly, who tore into him like a lioness that just found a tofu-wrapped deer wearing Gucci loafers. Newsom's economic policies, they're basically TikTok dances on the edge of a fiscal cliff, flashy, cringeworthy, and destined to end in a painful drop. Remember when he locked down California like it was Jurassic Park and the virus was a raptor, but then snuck off to the French Laundry to sip artisanal hypocrisy out of a $700 0% alcohol wine glass? Gutfeld barely needed a punchline. Newsom's entire career is like a Mad Lib, filled out by a hungover lobbyist and edited by a failed screenwriter with a trust fund. And through it all, while small businesses collapsed and Californians were told to stay home and save lives, one thing remained perfectly preserved: Gavin's hair. Untouched, unbothered, likely held in place by the evaporated tears of every entrepreneur he shuddered without warning. Megyn nailed it when she said what everyone was already thinking. If hair gel had a soul, it would sue Gavin Newsom for emotional abuse.
What he posted, stand by. It's amazing. Okay, he posts the following. California, under the leadership of radical left Democrat Gavin Newsom, continues to illegally allow men to play in women's sports. This week, a transition male athlete, meaning a male pretending to be a female, at a major event won everything and is now qualified to compete in the state finals next weekend. As a male, he was a less than average competitor. All true. As a female, this transition person is practically unbeatable. This is not fair and totally demeaning to women and girls. Please be hereby advised that large-scale federal funding...
Yes, homelessness. Gavin's piece de resistance. Under his enlightened reign, California became the first state to treat tent cities as a legitimate zoning category. Homelessness didn't just rise. It soared like his ego at a climate change summit. But don't worry, he cares. At least that's what he tells the cameras. Because nothing screams compassion like turning Venice Beach into a Mad Max prequel, except with more fentanyl and fewer moral boundaries. Greg Gutfeld nearly combusted pointing it out. Newsom cares, he mocked. In the same way your ex who ghosted you cares, vaguely, performatively, and mostly about how they're being perceived on Instagram. Meanwhile, actual Californians are out here dodging used needles like it's Olympic fencing and praying a Whole Foods opens up before another open-air meth spa sets up shop next to their driveway. And then there's this crown jewel of chaos, the California power grid. Newsom managed to turn it into a roulette wheel with the superiority complex. Rolling blackouts. Check. Energy bills that rival Manhattan rent? Double check. Gavin adores green energy with the zeal of a cult leader worshiping incense, ritualistically, obsessively, and completely divorced from practical reality. It's less a plan, more a sermon wrapped in... Megyn Kelly didn't hold back. slicing through the spin
absolutely
with
the right.
razor-sharp
We just
precision.
couldn't wait
She
to make
nailed
an
it.
issue out of
Gavin Newsom's idea of
transgender kids. I mean,
environmentalism
this is why
banning
Gavin
plastic
Newsom, I
straws,
think, is
while
having a hard
wildfires
time on his
consume half the
rehabilitation
state like a
tour
deleted
as he's
scene
launched his
from
podcast,
Dante's
and
Inferno.
it's because
You can't
he's
exactly
like,
sip oat milk out of a
it's
bamboo
impossible
cup
for him to
if your
run
entire
from his
neighborhood is
actual
up in flames,
record
Gavin.
because he can't fully disavow
At
it.
least the compostable
You know, he
napkins
can't
were carbon
fully get
neutral,
away from it.
right?
It's like how he
And
said,
then there's
nobody in
crime,
our office ever used
California's other
Latinx.
blazing
And then
success
a
story.
million clips were
In
produced of
Gavin's
Gavin
Golden
Newsom
State,
himself, let
shoplifting
alone
under
his office,
$950
saying the
isn't a
word
felony.
Latinx.
It's
Like, he
practically
can't
an
fully
Olympic
divorce
sport. Restorative justice? That now means handing your burglar a scented candle and a spa voucher. Newsom's approach to law and order is like trying to direct traffic with interpretive dance, confusing, chaotic, and guaranteed to cause accidents. Under his leadership, defund the police went from a political slogan to something resembling a one-star Yelp review for public safety. Greg Gutfeld couldn't resist. He joked that in California, crime has been rebranded as ambitious borrowing. Pharmacies are locking up deodorant like it's a Rolex, and security guards need trauma counseling after every shift. And what's Newsom's solution? Blame Texas. Because when your own policies are crumbling under the weight of elite posturing and bad math, the best move is to point east and hope no one notices your Gucci loafers are ankle deep in a puddle of your own failure.